In the heart of 1930s Germany, a new drug emerged from the bustling laboratories of the Temmler Pharmaceutical Company. This drug, christened Pervitin, contained methamphetamine, a potent stimulant chemically akin to crystal meth. Pervitin, they claimed, held the key to unlocking unparalleled energy, focus, and productivity. Little did they know their creation would soon become deeply entwined with the darkest chapter in human history. The stage was set for a dangerous liaison between a nation on the brink of war and a drug promising invincibility. Pervitin quickly gained popularity among ordinary Germans, students, factory workers, and housewives alike. The Nazi leadership saw in Pervitin a tool to bolster their soldiers' performance and propel their military campaigns. The Wehrmacht, the German armed forces, adopted Pervitin with fervor. Millions of tablets were distributed to soldiers, sailors, and pilots, transforming them into tireless fighting machines. Pervitin fueled the Blitzkrieg, the lightning war that swept across Europe, crushing opposition and leaving a trail of devastation. Soldiers could march for days on end, their bodies and minds impervious to exhaustion. The invasion of France showcased the terrifying effectiveness of Pervitin. German troops, fueled by the drug, advanced with relentless speed and aggression. This early success fueled the Nazi propaganda machine, further solidifying Pervitin's image as a wonder drug. For the soldiers on the front lines, Pervitin offered a temporary escape from the horrors of war. The drug provided a surge of energy, allowing them to stay awake for days, pushing back the need for sleep and rest. It dulled the senses, numbing them to the constant fear, the bone-chilling cold, and the sight of death and destruction. Pervitin became a comrade, a source of solace in the midst of chaos and despair. Letters sent home often mentioned the drug, praising its effects and requesting additional supplies. The soldiers, for the most part, were unaware of the potential long-term consequences of their Pervitin use. However, beneath the surface of invincibility, cracks began to appear. The soldiers were often plagued by hallucinations, paranoia, and severe mood swings. The Nazi leadership indulged in their own cocktail of potent drugs. Adolf Hitler received regular injections of various substances, including Pervitin from his personal physician, Theodor Morell. Hitler believed they enhanced his focus, boosted his energy, and allowed him to maintain his iron grip on the Nazi Party. However, the drugs also exacerbated his existing paranoia, his volatile temper, and his delusional view of the world. Other high-ranking Nazi officials, including Hermann Göring and Ernst Udet, also succumbed to drug use. Göring became addicted to morphine, while Udet relied heavily on Pervitin. The rampant drug use among the Nazi elite exposed a stark hypocrisy at the heart of the regime. As the war raged on, the dark side of Pervitin became increasingly apparent. The soldiers, initially energized and fearless, began to experience the debilitating effects of addiction and withdrawal. Reports of soldiers suffering from psychosis, heart problems, and severe insomnia became more frequent. The once orderly German army began to show cracks as soldiers struggled with addiction. The Nazi leadership largely ignored the growing crisis, seeing addiction as a weakness. Soldiers suffering from withdrawal symptoms were often punished, dismissed as cowards or malingerers. The medical community, though aware of Pervitin's addictive nature, remained largely silent. Fear of reprisal from the Nazi regime prevented many doctors from speaking out. The widespread use of Pervitin within the Nazi regime exposed a glaring contradiction at the heart of its ideology. The Nazis promoted a vision of a healthy, racially pure society, free from vices such as alcohol and drug abuse. However, the reality behind the facade of moral purity was far more sinister. The Nazi leadership, while publicly condemning drug use, embraced it as a tool to further their own ambitions. This hypocrisy highlighted the manipulative nature of the Nazi regime. The use of Pervitin became a symbol of the regime's willingness to sacrifice the well-being of its people for the sake of power and domination. As the war drew to a close and the Third Reich crumbled, Germany was left to grapple with the devastating consequences of its Pervitin use. Millions of former soldiers returned home, their bodies and minds ravaged by years of war and addiction. The withdrawal symptoms were often severe, leaving many men unable to function in civilian life. The post-war German government, struggling to rebuild a shattered nation, was ill-equipped to deal with the scale of the addiction crisis. Treatment options were limited, and there was a significant stigma attached to addiction. The legacy of Pervitin cast a long shadow over post-war Germany, serving as a stark reminder of the devastating consequences of unchecked ambition. The story of Pervitin serves as a chilling reminder of the seductive allure of performance-enhancing drugs and the potential for abuse when they become intertwined with political ambition. The Nazi regime's willingness to exploit Pervitin's power highlights the ethical complexities surrounding drug use, particularly in times of conflict. Pervitin's legacy extends beyond the battlefields of World War II. It serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of unchecked scientific advancement and the importance of ethical considerations in research. The story of Pervitin underscores the importance of understanding the social and cultural context in which drug use occurs. By studying the history of Pervitin, we gain valuable insights into the complex relationship between drugs, society, and power. The story of Pervitin is a harrowing journey into the darkest depths of human experimentation and ambition. It is a tale of scientific innovation gone astray, of a nation seduced by the promise of power through chemistry, and of the devastating consequences that followed. The legacy of Pervitin serves as a stark reminder of the ethical responsibility that accompanies scientific progress. The widespread use of Pervitin during World War II highlights the seductive allure of performance-enhancing drugs. The Nazi regime's embrace of Pervitin demonstrates the dangers of prioritizing short-term gains over long-term well-being. Ethical considerations must guide our research and development, ensuring that new discoveries benefit humanity. The story of Pervitin serves as a stark reminder that even the most groundbreaking scientific innovations can have unintended and devastating consequences.